To understand the turbulent state of US-China relations today, it's essential to look back at the high-stakes summits between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. When they prepared to meet during Trump's presidency, the world held its breath. These meetings weren't just about handshakes for the cameras. They were about your wallet, global security, and the future of the world order. For years, the relationship between the United States and China had been a tense mix of deep economic ties and even deeper strategic rivalry. When the two leaders sat down, the stakes were sky high. Forget the official statements and the carefully managed photo ops. The real battle, the one that would shape the future, was fought on three hidden fronts. By the end of this video, you'll understand what was truly at stake. This wasn't just politics. It was a global competition that was already reshaping our lives in ways we were only just beginning to comprehend. The outcomes of their meetings weren't just felt in Washington and Beijing. They rippled across every major economy and every geopolitical flashpoint on the map. These summits were moments of tactical stabilization in a world tilting towards a new era of great power struggle. Battleground 1, the economic war room. The first battleground, and the one that always gets the most attention, is economics. But it's far more complex than just headlines about tariffs and trade deficits. What we were witnessing was a battle with two distinct layers. On the surface, it was all about the transactional. For President Trump, the primary goal was often a visible, headline-friendly win. This meant pushing for massive Chinese purchases of American goods, soybeans, and beef for America's farmers, liquefied natural gas for its energy producers, and hundreds of Boeing aircraft for its manufacturing sector. For President Xi, the calculus was about stability. His domestic economy was showing signs of weakness, and avoiding another trade war was crucial. This was the space where deals, like a Phase 1 trade agreement signed in January 2020, could be made, allowing both sides to claim a victory for their home audiences. But beneath this surface layer lay the real conflict, a deep structural competition for the future. This wasn't about soybeans. It was about semiconductors. It's not about tariffs. It's about technology. The United States imposed escalating export controls aimed at slowing China's access to the advanced chips that power everything, from AI to modern military hardware. These were fundamental efforts to reshape the global technology landscape. In response, China wielded its own economic weapons. It has long been a dominant player in the world's supply of rare earth minerals, materials essential for everything, from iPhones to fighter jets. While its total dominance has been somewhat reduced by diversification efforts from the US, Australia, and others, China still controls a massive share of the processing and refining market. By implementing export controls on related materials like gallium and germanium, Beijing sent a clear message. It can weaponize the world's supply chains at critical choke points. This is the part of the economic battle that a summit handshake couldn't solve. Battleground 2, the geopolitical flashpoints. The second, and arguably most dangerous battleground, is geopolitical. While economic tensions can cause recessions, geopolitical miscalculations can lead to conflict. At the heart of this tension lies the island of Taiwan. Beijing describes Taiwan as being at the core of China's core interests, a red line that must not be crossed. President Xi has made a reunification a historic mission, coupled with a significant increase in Chinese military operations near the island. For the United States, the situation was a delicate balancing act under its long-standing policy of strategic ambiguity. President Trump's transactional style created uncertainty, with his public comments suggesting that arms sales to Taiwan could be a very good negotiating chip in talks with Beijing. This appeared to challenge the core 6 assurances made to Taipei and created anxiety for allies. The stakes are astronomical. A conflict over Taiwan would trigger a global economic cataclysm instantly, severing the world's most important supply chains, particularly for advanced semiconductors. The gravity of the issue has been a consistent theme, with Xi reportedly warning leaders then and since that a misstep on Taiwan could push the relationship into a very dangerous place. Beyond Taiwan, this geopolitical battle was fought on other fronts. The semiconductor war was as much a security issue as an economic one. Washington also saw China's significant purchases of Iranian oil as potential leverage, hoping Beijing might help de-escalate tensions in the Middle East. These flashpoints represent the hard limits of the U.S.-China relationship, where compromise is most difficult and the potential for escalation is highest. Battleground 3, the optics of power. The third battleground was fought in front of the cameras, the battle of diplomatic optics. In high-stakes geopolitics, perception is reality. Both leaders needed to project stability and control. Trump needed to look like a master dealmaker, while Xi's goal was to secure China's status as an equal global power without appearing to concede to American pressure. He often used the language of win-win cooperation and avoiding the Thucydides trap, the tendency for rising powers to clash with established ones. The choreography of the summits was therefore as important as the substance. The warm handshakes and coordinated statements about constructive, strategic stability were all designed to create a narrative of responsible leadership and managed competition. What these carefully crafted optics were designed to hide was the deep, fundamental distrust between the two sides. They obscured the unresolved rivalries and the reality that neither side was seeking a true strategic reset. A successful summit, in this context, wasn't one that solved these problems, but one that prevented them from boiling over. It was a temporary truce in a long-term struggle, an agreement to manage the competition, not to end it. So, as we look back on those events, it's crucial to see past the official statements. The real story wasn't just in what was said at the podium, but in what remained unresolved. We were watching a high-stakes exercise in containing a rivalry that couldn't be resolved, only managed. The three battlegrounds, transactional economics versus the structural tech war, the simmering flashpoint over Taiwan, and the carefully managed optics of power were all interlocked. A deal on soybeans meant little, while the tech war continued to escalate. A stable photo op meant nothing if a miscalculation occurred in the Taiwan Strait. What were the true indicators of success or failure? First, the economic details. Were the agreements about specific purchases, or did they address structural issues? Second, the language on Taiwan. Any subtle change in the U.S. position was a major signal. Finally, what happened after the summits? Did military activities decrease or continue unabated? These meetings were not an endpoint. They were crucial moments in a long, unfolding drama that continues to define the 21st century. Understanding these hidden battlegrounds is the only way to truly grasp what comes next.